or I said last week, I don't know if you agree or disagree, but just focus on your own journey and the rest of it will come.
Yeah, but
But
what if that journey does not bring you to a partner?
hello everybody and welcome to episode 10 of the Let's Rap podcast. I'm your host Jay Echo,
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Philosophical, your co-host.
and today we wanted to sort of talk about the independent movement, or Mr. and Mrs. Independent. What sort of sparked that? What might be behind that, and if it's necessarily a bad thing? We just wanted to dive into it a little bit. You know. So Phil, what are your thoughts on the independence movement?
Uh, so in my interpretation is, I think we mirage and try to uh, play the independent role to the fact that we get to a comfort level to where if we accomplish certain things within life, whether it's making enough money to support ourselves, whether having a nice car, on home, we try to substitute that with not having, hey, I did these things without a partner. So I really don't need to a person to so-called quote unquote disrupt my peace. That's one, kind of example. Second example could be, people being tired of being treated a certain way, to the fact that they tend to not want to deal with having that partner and tend to drift away from finding that, person. Uh, and then the third reason could be, and people may disagree, but I feel like it could be from the way you were grown up, your parent situation, your housing situation, your environment, to the fact that you may have been programmed to the fact that relationships in marriage or having a partner just isn't in you. So those are kind of my three examples and reasons why that could be the case. And, really can't wait to kind of dive into this topic.
I mean, the three reasons you gave, they don't necessarily seem like a bad thing though. Like, for instance, if I know we said last week, or I said last week, I don't know if you agree or disagree, but just focus on your own journey and the rest of it will come.
Yeah, but
But
what if that journey uh, does not bring you to a partner or a significant other?
I mean, is that necessarily a bad thing? Like, I mean,
It's
the way I look at it, right? I mean, some people, in the same way that some people don't need to be parents, some people don't need to be in a relationship.
That's true. That's true.
you
That's
know,
absolutely true. But
like, for some people, it's a better idea for them to be alone, at least in that moment, anyways. Not everybody needs to, like, I think there's this false narrative that goes on that the goal should be to end up with somebody, and I don't think that's always necessarily the case, or
well,
it should be the case.
I think it could be a situation where it can turn into, for some people feel like being single for the rest of their life is a valuable option.
I
What do
mean,
you what do you what
isn't
is your
it?
opinion on that?
I mean, some people don't feel like a relationship is the end goal. Like, I mean, you hear all the time about confirmed bachelors and all of these sort of things. Like, they just decided that they
Uh,
gonna be by themselves. Like,
how
you know.
long do you now? Let's take it a step further.
Mhm.
If one of your boys or one of your female friends say, "Hey, I'm done with dating. I'm not going to, you know, ever pursue a relationship? Do you believe that?
Do I believe it? No, but I feel like that's their prerogative though. Because I mean, like I said, there are definitely those days and those nights when it's just like, send me somebody, Jesus. You know, we
Yeah,
we all
yeah.
we all have those. But at the same time, you know, there's like, those are our moments. Those are personal to us. So if you personally make a decision that, yo, this is where I'm at right now and I'm not trying to be with anybody, then I'm who am I to tell you that you're wrong for that decision, you know?
I don't think it's your way of telling them they're wrong, but it's all about like analyzing to the fact that why you feel that way. And again, I know you've been harboring on this point, but I think it goes back to the mindset.
Yeah.
The, your mindset to where, you've been preaching it, I've been preaching it to where if you kind of putting out that energy that you don't want to be with anybody, but
Then
on the
you ain't
flip
gonna end
side,
up with anybody.
or you'll end up with the person you're not supposed to be with.
Fair. Yeah. Very fair.
You know what I mean? You'll end up with a person where it's like, you know, they don't. A lot of times, what we project out into the world is a lot of times what we receive back. So
Hmm.
if you feeling like there are a lot of people out here who are hurt, there are a lot of people out here who are, yeah, yes, are toxic for the wrong reasons, based off of the way they've been treated. It all goes back to the way we as people have been treating each other.
Yeah.
And it's drawn, and I truly believe it's drawn this independency to the fact that people, more and more people today are being drifted apart to settle for the independent lane because it's easier. There are no attachments. There are no feelings involved. There are no emotions involved. That's where the
Uh,
term friends with benefits come in. You know what I mean?
I would agree, but I think I think the world is now set up in a way that it's easier to be alone than it is to be with somebody.
Why you say that? Why do you feel that way?
I mean, I know we've said this a couple different times, a couple different ways, but I feel like we've created the illusion of togetherness for ourselves. You know, things like social media, the cell phones, all of that sort of stuff. You
Mhm.
can literally you can literally push a button and get somebody's thoughts. They might be dumb, but you can literally push a button and hear what somebody has to say, right?
Okay. Okay.
And we equate that to having an actual conversation and having an actual connection. We substitute those things as
Hmm.
opposed to building an actual connection and an actual relationship with somebody. So because we've substituted all of those other things, the what's it called, the idea of a relationship does not seem as appealing. It's like, oh, well, this is somebody who can support you when you're feeling down. Oh, I get that off Instagram. I just send out a post and a whole bunch of people will send me comments and likes and all of that sort of stuff,
So what
or
you're saying
whatever the case
is
may be.
a lot of people substitute, we'll say substitute virtual attention for mental or physical attention from a person, because I think that could be the case too, to where uh social media, is we're in a social media era to where back in the day, if you felt a certain type of way or you weren't having a good day or you felt that um, you know you needed that attention, you pick up the phone and call somebody. it's
Yeah.
not it's not like that anymore. Now you can go on Facebook and be like, oh, I'm sad, and
Either
get
that or you text somebody. Like,
yeah.
I hate texting people. You know this about me. I hate texting people. But
You also hate
before,
social media.
yeah. I mean, YouTube is a great distraction for me. I get a lot of information off of YouTube.
Hmm.
Instagram, I had to get, well, I'm not off of, but I'm not on nearly as much. But that's because if we're being totally honest with ourselves,
Hmm.
what do those things actually offer you?
Social media.
Yeah, like beyond that temporary attention, what do they actually offer you? Like,
To some people, it could bring a level of awareness, a level of
I mean, I'm not I'm
introducing
not
yourself to other people. I think social media has become what I call a comparison era platform. I think people go on social media, and some people they boast, and it's the braggadocious era to where they get to a point where they brag about the things they have. So the
like
next person,
I'm
like,
I'm not what's it called? I'm not saying it's not a place where you can't go and stunt, but what I'm saying is if you back away from it, what does it actually gain you? There are certain people who make money on these social media platforms. I'm not
hmm?
talking about y'all. you know I'm talking about the people who literally just get on there to watch. What does it actually offer you? I
I
mean,
think it. I think.
yes, it
Uh,
can be entertaining, but you don't make no money off of it. You don't like it. It drastically alters your perceptions of yourself and the outside world, all of that sort of stuff. So what benefit does it actually provide for you?
I mean, well, the real question is, what are you doing outside of that social media?
That's the thing. A lot of people, their primary interactions are through social media.
Correct. Daily
And
life is through social media.
and what's it called? And if all of your interaction is through social media, then of course, there's not really a pull or a need to be like, oh, let me go out and actually talk to somebody. It's like, oh no, I'm talking to people.
Yeah.
Now there are people who genuinely do form connections and things through social media. I'm not targeting, that's not what my issue is.
Hmm.
My issue is the idea that social media is an actual genuine replacement for a connection.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't this is me personally, but I know one of the things I look for in a relationship is just being able to be in the same space as that other person.
Okay.
Like, we don't even have to be talking to each other. As long as we are in the same space, as long as we are in each other's presence, like, I can find a way to connect to you. Like, I prefer that. I prefer being face to face. I prefer actually hearing somebody to, oh, text me. Like, if I wanted to text you, if I had to text you, I would text you. I called you because I wanted to talk to you, not because I wanted to read text on a screen. I do that all day. That's literally my life. I work in IT. I'm good.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And what's it called? And bringing it back to the independence thing, like, if you have all of these outside things that you can substitute for what you would normally get from a relationship or a connection or a conversation, then there's no need for it.
Hmm.
Or at least that's what you tell yourself until you are, 40, living alone. Nobody knows if you're alive or dead, and you're wondering, like, how did I get here? You
I
know,
won't even say 40. I'll say 60.
I mean, you
when
can
you
last
when
that
you
long,
when
more power to you. But
when you're 5 years away from an IV in your veins, or if you got to be spoon fed pills, or you're eating applesauce through an IV,
mm,
or if you're having breathing issues. I'm so serious.
yeah,
The point of this is that the fact that we make rash decisions and make rash behaviors, and I mean we all do it. We're all previous to this, to the fact that we don't. understand or think about the consequences. Now, there are standards to where people say, and I want to give a good caveat to the people out there that are saying that are working on themselves,
Hmm.
trying to do better within their relationships, potential relationships, future relationships, as far as coming to terms with if you are getting out of a bad relationship and coming to terms to the fact that okay, there's two people in this relationship. One person had a fault and I had a fault. What can I do to make sure I don't carry one, I don't carry that baggage into my next relationship? Two, how can I, you know, fix me to the fact that, you know, negative things that played a hand in certain bad relationships or unreconciled relationships that didn't work out, how can I, make sure that doesn't happen to me? Because feelings and emotions are involved. And, a lot of times when people break up with each other, the first thing that can be triggered is the fact that I'm not getting in another relationship. But I'm here to say today that, just because you choose not to be in a relationship with someone, let's talk about let's try not to be in a relationship with the same people that you seem to be used to being in a relationship with.
I mean,
That's the real conversation here.
oh, patterns of behavior.
Patterns of behavior.
Yeah.
A certain type of person that triggers or you feel attracted to through patterns of behaviors.
Yeah.
The way they walk, the way they dress, or the way they look. Instead of looking into an inward person, how do they treat their parents? You know what I mean? Like how what was their last relationship like? How did they break up? What are your thoughts on just do you require a certain level of attention? What's the level of attention I have to give you? What's your thoughts on emotional? Are you going to be emotionally available, not just physically available? It's easy for a man to woman to make themselves available physically, and I'm talking sexually. But it's even harder. And what a lot of couples and relationships don't understand is that we've got to be able to be available mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
because a lot of parents that are still together today, married 20, 30 years, I ask them all the same questions. How do you do it? What's the secret? And they tell me communication. It's going to come a time when someone's not available physically, whether they're sick, whether they got to go through major surgeries, whether anything can happen. Mentally stressed out, anything can happen. If you can't be there mentally or emotionally or even spiritually, I didn't even mention spiritually, and I should have spiritually should really come first. And if you can't be there within those type of three things, why do you continue to put yourself in a situation when you're attracting yourself to the same patterns of behavior? It's because that's what you're putting out in the air. That you want this type of man that does this, that acts this way, that acts that way. When really you've been with three, four of the same types of men, same types of ladies.
I mean, it's very easy. I mean,
And this is why, ladies, you continue to say there aren't any good men out here. Because you turn down the good men that are willing to be available for you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. But the physical part is the fact that you feel you're not attracted to them. So why it's like you're trading in a freaking Jaguar for a Honda.
I mean, I'll disagree with you a little bit on that point.
Okay, I would love to hear your disagreements on this.
So I feel like in the same way that I don't think any dude wants to compromise who like his level of attraction, physical attraction to his partner. I don't
Okay.
think a woman should have to either, just because of, now if they make that decision personally, by all means do that.
So this
But
is the thing with the level of attraction.
mhm,
So the level of attraction always seems to be superseded over everything else. If you feel a woman is fine, by all means,
okay,
I've seen my level of fine women.
yeah.
Believe me, Jay has too.
I'm
Believe
not
me,
I'm not
we
that's not the point I'm disagreeing on.
okay,
Okay. So what I'm saying is, in the same ways that, like, I'm trying to avoid double standards is
okay,
I guess what I'm saying. Cause in the same ways that, like, uh what's it called, like a dude today will say, oh yeah, yeah, she treats me right, but she doesn't look a certain type of way, so I'm not interested. I'm not going to fault any woman who does the same thing, because dudes have been doing it for years, so I'm not
correct.
gonna just turn around and then
I,
be
I
like, oh no, women shouldn't do that.
I get that part,
People shouldn't do it, like, in general. Like, we should look beyond the surface, obviously, but at the end of the day,
but you said a key word: look beyond the surface. But at the same
yes,
time,
but at the that's
you're turning down a man or woman just because they don't look a certain type of way. But
but
that's surface
that's
level.
where, what's it called, that's where the homework, the investigation comes in, you
But
know
we got to get past the attraction part about it.
Exactly. The attraction part is what starts the conversation. I think that's where a lot of people that's the issue that a lot of people get hung up on. They start with the attraction part, and that leads immediately into the physical, as opposed to the attraction starting the
But
conversation.
that's 9 times out of 10, though, Jay.
And
That's
I'm
9 times out of
saying
10.
that's the
You
point that needs to change. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm
okay?
saying
So
that's
how does we, because we're the men, we're hunters. How are we supposed to change that?
we need
How
to
is a
set
man
standards
supposed to
for
change that?
ourselves.
How do we do that?
First off, like, it's okay to know what you want physically, but know what you want beyond that. Because, like you
Okay.
said, if you get beyond the physical and it starts actually turning into something, like, if you can't have a conversation with the person you're quote unquote attracted to, then there's no point.
I know brothers today, Jay, that will sacrifice their standards and expectations and morals for a quote unquote trophy woman.
And that's part of the issue.
Okay.
Like, if we're
So
being
my thing
if
about
we're
it, how
being
do we
real
change
about it,
that narrative? How do we change that narrative?
it goes back to mindset. Like, look, if you if you respect yourself enough, and I'm talking about doing the personal work. This isn't about what other people are doing. This is the personal work.
Okay.
If you respect yourself enough to set standards for what you actually want, like, okay, I know I want a woman who looks a certain type of way. Okay, cool. What else? Like, beyond the looks, do you want her to have a certain kind of job? Do you want her to have a certain type of personality? Do you
Mhm.
want her to, and know, and on top of that personal work, not just what you want, but what you actually need.
Okay, I
Like,
get that part. I get that part. But
doing that personal work.
at the same time, at the same time, I think we're putting the cart before the horse, Jay. Why? What I'm saying is, why can't we do that homework first?
That's why I say being the independent part isn't necessarily a bad thing. Bringing it back to the beginning of the
Mm,
conversation,
okay.
that portion of it is why I say it's not bad, because you do that work first.
So
That, what
let
do
me
I
so
actually want? What am I looking for? What do I actually need? That is work you need to do by yourself when you're alone. And then when you end up with somebody, you figure out what other work you need to do.
okay. So let me ask you
Because
this.
nobody grows alone.
So you would advise a man or a woman to fact that if they're not doing their due diligence and homework, to just straight up be independent? Is that where you're kind of going? We're like, hey, it's not a bad thing being by yourself.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not a bad
Oh,
thing being by
I completely
yourself.
disagree. I think that's a cop out, and I think that's an excuse.
I mean, bruh, if
That's
you're
that's
not
what call that's where the cancel culture comes from.
Nah, that's not a cancel thing. That's you taking responsibility for yourself. Like, I'm not going to put on somebody else. I'm not going to put the responsibility for my growth on somebody else.
Wait, no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't at all. You shouldn't.
That's what I'm
You
saying.
shouldn't.
I'm not like if you're still doing your work and you end up in a relationship, by all means continue doing your work. I'm
But
not saying that, but there are a number of people who ain't done nearly enough work to be in a relationship. You don't need to be with nobody. You
well,
need to be
that's because they're depending on their partners to do it for them. They're depending on their partner not only
exactly. And
to be
those
them,
people would benefit from being by themselves for a
but I
while and
think those
doing that
people,
work for themselves.
but I think those people solely put the cart before the horse as far as putting the physical before everything else.
I mean, that's not the only reason to me.
Oh,
That's
that is
not
a
the only
large part of
reason.
the reason.
It's a piece of it, but that's
Oh,
not
it's a
the only
huge piece.
reason.
It's a huge piece because you're telling me that there are a lot of men and women out here who are in relationships that they are physically attracted to that other person, but doesn't have an idea or clue or even careless on how that other person feels in other scenarios.
I'm not
Or how
saying that doesn't happen.
oh, it
I'm not
happens.
saying that doesn't.
I think that's a big part. That's a big part of it.
I'm not saying that doesn't happen. What I am saying is your work is yours whether you're in a relationship or not.
Correct. I agree with that. I
Nobody, like, even if you are in a relationship, the work you have to do doesn't change. The fact you're in a relationship might mean that there's more work for you to do because now you
mhm.
have to consider what the other person also needs from you on top of what you need from yourself. But the work you have to do doesn't change just because, oh, I'm in a relationship now. It might be easier to ignore the work you have to do because you can focus on the other person and not worry about yourself.
So let's harbor on that situation. Let's bring that situation up as an example. If you because there's always work to be done within yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like no man or woman's gonna ever be fully complete within
No.
themselves. So I feel like you being in a relationship, all it is the fact that you're introducing another person into your life
Hmm.
to the fact that now you've got to compromise a lot of the work that you feel you need to work on. How am I going to adjust that type of work towards this person? That's where it really starts with. And that's the trick on the fact that we as men and women don't understand. And that's where the such like issues of how to treat each other is because we're solely focused on the physical attraction. The when you're solely focused on the physical attraction, what happens? Sex becomes a temporary fix for everything. If you're arguing all the time, what's your natural reaction when you're physically attracted to someone to the point where you're not even concentrating on the other aspects of that person? Sex. You guys don't if a decision is made to where you don't agree, you're not communicating, things no one's communicating within the relationship and it's causing more arguments and disagreements. What is a temporary fix? Sex. So what does sex do? Sex mirages a lot of issues that you should bring to the forefront. Communication, a mental standpoint. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen when it's gonna come a time when your partner can have sex with you? And this is where it comes to a point where you get married for the wrong reasons. What's you gonna do?
That's why I say you have to do the personal work before, because
Okay, but how long do you
you
do that
said,
personal work?
huh?
How long do you do that personal work? 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, forever?
There's no time frame on it. Like the what's it called? The personal work has to happen regardless. This is why I say whether you're in a relationship or not. But this whole independence thing, like that is a prime time to be doing work.
But
And
this is the
that's why,
root cause. This is the root cause
bruh,
of the
being
independence.
alone isn't the root cause.
Oh no, 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 no! It's not being alone the root cause. It's the reason why they're alone is the root cause.
The reason why, like, some people need to be alone, right? And then some people haven't done enough work personally to get to a place where a relationship seems right for them or is a positive. Like, the way I
It
look at a
comes a
relationship,
time, but it comes a time when it's like you trying to find the perfect job. You're never going to find the perfect job, Jay.
I
So
know
why is
that.
that? Why is that such a? It has. Why is that such an excuse for
I
a
don't
reason?
think no. So here's I think this is we're having a key disagreement on one point. I'm not saying you look for the perfect thing, and I'm
Mhm.
also not saying you keep working until you become Mr. Right and then you jump into a relationship. That's not what I'm saying.
No, I think you. I think you continue to work on yourself and become Mr. Right in a relationship.
I think true. Like I said, you don't grow alone.
Correct.
I agree with you on that point. The
Okay.
point that I am trying to make is there are certain phases of your life where you need to be alone.
Okay. Give me an example.
Like if you're for instance, if you're trying to get your career in on track, you
Okay.
don't necessarily need to be in a space where you're focused solely on, oh, I need to be dating right now, spending all this money and all this sort of stuff. Like, nah, focus on your job. You know, it's okay to have imbalances in your life if you are trying to accomplish something. Like if you're trying to accomplish something for yourself, it's okay to live an imbalanced life temporarily, right? This shouldn't become your default state. But in that moment, this is what you need. Go for the thing you need, right? But I
Okay.
think too many people equate like, oh, the relationship is going to solve all my problems. And then
I
they
agree
use
with you
that
there.
as an
I completely
excuse.
agree with you there.
They
We
use
should
that as
not
an
be we should
excuse
not be
to
in
not do
relationships.
work.
Yeah. I agree with you there. We should not be in relationships to depend on someone to fix our problems.
Exactly.
I
That's
agree.
the point I am making.
I agree with you there. I agree with you there. But let's not take out the fact that some of these issues that people have with not only within themselves but within a relationship is due to not communicating, not being available emotionally, not being available mentally, not being available spiritually, and
I'm not,
solely
I will
focusing on the
never
physical.
disagree. I will never disagree with you on that point. The only point I was trying to make is that the relationship is not a fix all. And I think right now, especially in today's America,
So that's another point I disagree. You don't think it could be a fix all?
a relationship will never be a fix all, bruh.
Okay. Okay.
A relationship
And
will
that's the
never.
part that's the part where I agree with you, but I disagree with you.
Like
To the fact
so
go ahead.
that's why I said the work you have to do on yourself will not change when you get into a relationship.
Okay.
And if you are a garbage individual getting into a relationship, you refuse to do any work, you will be a garbage individual in that relationship too, and you will end up alone.
So
That's
let me
all.
ask you this. Let's throw an example out there for the listeners. What if a quote unquote garbage individual, I mean, we don't have to sit here and specify what type of garbage individual it is. It could be
Yeah.
garbage is garbage. What if, because there are instances where even a woman, what if it's a garbage woman? A garbage man gets with a good woman, and that woman changes his life for the better, and he changes his ways, his life. There are certain instances. What are your thoughts on that?
You said something very key that I want to focus on.
Okay.
He changes his ways. He
Okay.
makes the decision to change. No
So
person can force somebody else to change.
correct. So
That's
let's talk about that because I think that's very important. What are some instances where you feel like a man and a woman would be give me some examples where you feel like a man and a woman would be, I won't even call it entertained, but would potentially change their way, change who they are for the better. Let's give the listeners some examples.
I feel like the best, like for that, the people involved are already interested in changing. They
Mm,
just may not be sure in what ways they need to change.
okay. Are you able to kind of give an example?
Like, I'll use myself as an example, right?
Okay.
And what's it called? Like, and I'm using myself just so people can see, like, yo, I'm not perfect. I'm not preaching all of this because I feel like I'm better than anybody else. My previous relationship, part of the reason that relationship ended was because there were key issues in my life
Mm-hmm.
that for a long time I wasn't interested in changing.
Mm-hmm.
Things like my mindset, things like the way I navigated the world. I wasn't interested in changing them because I felt like, yo, this is me. You get what you get. This is, I am who I am. This is what it is. And people who are trying to change me are just trying to push their own agenda, and therefore I'm not interested in that. That was
Okay.
my mindset for a while. It wasn't healthy, but that was my mindset for a while.
So you don't
And
feel like, so okay. So you felt like you were in a situation or in a relationship where you feel like you needed to do some personal work within your life,
yeah,
right? Okay. So let me ask you this: did you kind of communicate that to her?
in ways I did, yeah, but
Okay. And what was her response?
her response was she definitely wanted me to do that personal work, and she was willing to support me in doing that personal work. But
Correct. Correct.
at the same time, and the key reason why the relationship ended, we neither of us were in the place to be able to support each other in that.
Okay. And I get that part. I get that part.
But
And
and that's
I
why
totally agree with that. To where if you guys came to a point where you felt like we're not in a place where we can help each other, that's fine.
exactly.
I get that part. I get that. But there are instances where one, we as men and women, we focus on the wrong things. So then when it comes down to the real life hits after that quote unquote honeymoon period, the real test within a
Mhm.
relationship comes in, we use the physical to mirage a lot of those problems. And
Yeah,
if you and Jay brought up a good point to where if you distinguish the fact that find somebody that's willing to support you and help you and be there available outside of the physical attraction, more of the mental, spiritually, uh, and what's the other word? Mentally, spiritually, and emotionally there for you just as much as you're there for her.
yeah, and
And that's going to be the true test to the fact that I bet you if the situation, using Jay's example, if the situation was different, to say, hey, you know what, you know, just as much as I feel like it's a two-way street. I'm pretty sure if the shoes were on the other foot and Jay was available for her like he needed to be, I'm pretty sure he would have. What would have done? That would have caused reciprocation of the fact that's to say, okay, Jay needs my support. Jay needs me to be there. So I'm gonna be there for him. And that's my point of the difference between someone saying they're gonna be independent for the rest of their life and the difference between two people that are together. They either want to do the work and want to get to a point where Nothing's gonna stop them. Nothing's gonna come in the way, and they're gonna get through this. And relationships that solely focus on the physical and don't have a true understanding on how to be available through all aspects of a person.
Yeah, and
Because the physical, I tell you right now, when she has a baby and she's gaining weight and she's not putting on that makeup, like, and you can even call this my final thoughts. I don't care because now I'm about to rant.
go
when
ahead.
she when she's getting ready to have a baby or when she's having a second child, she's not putting on the makeup anymore. She's gained a few pounds. Oh, and by the way, she's getting ready to hit 40 years old, and that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And by our God, if you have someone that is in the gym all the time, working out all the time, keeping herself in shape, by all means, you got a lucky one. But if you have someone, even on the men's side, that don't continuously take care of themselves and you're solely focused on the physical, you're going to have problems. And these are the things that tear relationships apart. And this is why when the things come in, we solely focus on the wrong things. We solely focus on the patterns, the types, the behaviors of men and women that should not be the focus. Being in a relationship, being married is mental, it's spiritual, it's emotional. Because what's not understood is that women are emotional, women are spiritual, and women are mental. And what's not understood is a man is physical, a man is mental. Sometimes a man can be emotional, and men have spirits. And we've got to be able to be with people, a person that is willing to say, you know what, whatever happens, happens. We're going to get through this together. Men, because I go through it myself, and Jay can attest to this because Jay goes through it. I go through it. All my friends go through it. I'm pretty sure all men go through this. There are going to be times where you're going through something mentally. It's called mind games. That you feel like you're in a place, you're in a headspace where it's not right to you. And my positiveness to you to this is to say this is that don't let it bother you, fellas. Don't let it get to you. Be thankful to the fact that you're waking up, you're working, you're able to provide for yourself, your family. That's the positive towards it. All that overthinking and stuff, it's temporary. Ladies, stop putting pressure on the fact that you expect a man to fix your problems. That's not a man's job. A man's job is to be there for you, provide stability, security, be there for you emotionally, not just physically, spiritually, mentally, spiritually, and also physically.
That's your partner's job, period, whether you're a man or a woman.
Correct. And until we come to that understanding, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to have this independency. And the percentage and the numbers will get higher because the more and more it's put on social media and platforms and dating apps and word of mouth to the fact that I don't need you when we really do. A man needs a woman just as much as a woman needs a man. Why? Mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. A woman is needed for support. A man is there to listen and to be there the best way he can. And the fact that, and have an understanding that if we get through this one thing, we can get through anything. And that's my rant for the day.
I mean, people need people, whether you what's it called? Whether you decide you want to be independent or not, just don't ever forget the fact that you need somebody sometime, you know.
Yeah,
So, I
yeah.
mean, hey, if you want to be independent, cool, but don't don't lose your faith in people. And I did that for a while. So, don't lose that at least.
Well, that concludes episode 10 of the podcast.
Yep.
Um, so our Twitter is Let's Rap 2. Instagram is Let's Rap underscore. YouTube is Let's Rap. And now we have a TikTok. Let's Rap 2, where we'll be posting like little daily videos of kind of the life of Let's Rap.
I mean, I just said
So,
all this about how social media is bad, and you keep dragging me on the social media platforms, man. I don't get
well, in order to get our men and talking and listening
it far and
and
wide. Yeah,
it's gotta hit home.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And one day we will get Jay tweeting. One day, guys. One day we will get a picture out of
I'll
Jay
make zero
Instagram.
promises except that I will work to do what I need to do. I'm gonna get better at all of it. That's the only
Uh
promise I'll make.
that should be a topic for another episode. Why Jay doesn't tweet.
That's not a topic. I can answer that in one question. It's stupid. That's why.
Well, one day I will rant on that.
All right, cool.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, like you said, we really appreciate your continuing this journey with us. It's been a long journey. It's been a great journey. We've learned a lot throughout the way.
Yep.
And I'm your co-host, Philosophical, and really appreciate everyone for listening. And look out for part 2 of the interview with Jamie Woods. That's coming Sunday.
Yep. Sunday. Sunday.
So getting great feedback for that. Really appreciate everybody's support and love from that. And again, you guys have a great week and look forward to doing this again next week.
Yep. Also, we are working on possibly doing. Well, we got some other stuff in the works, other stuff
Yeah,
down the
we got some.
pipeline. I won't say exactly what we're working on, but we're working
It
on other stuff.
it involves social media, so Jay will be on social media one way or another.
I mean, you just finna drag me into this. I see how you do it.
Yep.
But all right,
So
guys, thanks for listening.
thank you.
Take care
Peace.
of yourselves. Take
Yep.
it easy, y'all.
Peace.